Hello, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Vijeta, and we will be continuing our lecture series. Today, we will be starting with chapter 11, Desiderius Erasmus. His timeline was from 1466 to 1536, and so Erasmus, as we know, he was a great humanist. He has been called the crowning glory of the Christian humanist. He wrote The Praise of Folly in 1509, and in this, the narrator is Folly. Yeah, that was all about Erasmus. That is all that you need to know for now. Now we come to chapter 12, which is Stephen Hawes. His timeline was from 1474 to 1523. Now, Stephen Hawes was a popular English poet during the Tudor period who is now little known, and his important works are Pastime of Pleasure. It's Pastime of Pleasure, but it's Old English, so some spellings you can see are different. It was first published by Wynkyn de Worde. Example of Virtue. It's an example of virtue. This is another work. It's an allegory of life spent in pursuit of purity. It was printed by Wynkyn de Worde in de Worde in 1512. Some other works are The Conversion of Swearness, The Comfort of Lovers. That's all you need to know about Hawes. And now we come to chapter 13, Thomas More, 1478 to 1535. These are the information. The information that I'm providing is more or less suited to UGC NET. If you wish to know more about these authors, you can obviously study them, read about them. So there's no harm in that. So Sir Thomas More was venerated in the Catholic Church as Saint Thomas More. He was an English lawyer, social philosopher, author, statesman, and noted Renaissance humanist. He was also a counsellor to Henry VIII and Lord High Chancellor of England from October 1529 to 16th May 1532. Quite a lot on his plate. Thomas More wrote Utopia, the very well-known work, and it's asked a lot in UGC NET in 1516, in which Latin is in Latin, and it is an essay in 2 books. Utopia means nowhere land or an ideal land. I think there's a little typo. Never mind that. Utopia means nowhere land or an ideal land, and opposite of utopia is dystopia, which is not an ideal land. We have a lot of dystopian novels, like 1984 is one of them. Even We by Yevgeny Zamyatin, Brave New World. All these novels are actually dystopian novels. Even your Hunger Games in the young adult series or Divergent, all of them, they are also dystopian novels. Utopia was translated into English by Ralph Robinson in 1551. Again, an important question. The year is asked a lot. Protagonist is Raphael Hytlodas. And Utopia was influenced by travelogues such as that by Amerigo Vespucci. More was a humanist and a courtier and Lord Chancellor to King Henry VIII, and he was actually beheaded, yes, in 1535 for refusing to give up the authority of the Pope. Yeah. About Utopia, we can say that it opens with a historical event, a delegation to Bruges in 1515, in which Thomas More has took part. First book describes the oppressive injustices of England. The second book contrasts England with Utopia, described by the protagonist Raphael Hytlodas, whom More claims to have met at Antwerp. In Utopia, there is a complete freedom of individual in social and religious spheres. In the islands of Utopia, elected representatives were called Syphograntus and Traniborus, above whom is the prince. So there is no privacy or private ownership. Goods are stored in warehouses. There are no lock and doors. Houses are rotated between citizens every 10 years. This is also an important question. It's asked a lot. The favorite time pass of Europeans was music, conversations, and public lectures. Yeah. Now we come to chapter 14, which is Alexander Barclay, 1484 to 1552. That's the timeline, his timeline. So, Alexander Barclay was a poet, scholar, and preacher, and he was possibly Scottish by birth. Important works are The Ship of Fools, 1509, and he translated Brand's Narranshiff into English verse as The Ship of Fools. Eclogues, he wrote some eclogues. The work he wrote, it's an eclogues work, and it was written in 1513 to 1514. It is interesting as it is one of the earliest English pastorals. So, pastorals is a form of literature that celebrates, in conventionally idealized terms, the innocent love and musical pleasure of shepherds. They are pastorals. Now we come to William Tyndale. A lot of you know him by the Bible, and yeah, he did a lot in that. His timeline was from 1494 to 1536. He was the captain of the army of reformers and was their spiritual leader. He holds the distinction of being the first to ever print the New Testament in English language. He was a true scholar and a genius, so fluent in 8 languages. You see, in 8 languages, that it was said that nobody could think anyone could be his native tongue. Like, he was so fluent in all the 8 languages that it was impossible to tell which one was his native tongue. He is frequently referred to as the architect of the English language because he coined so many phrases that we use today, even today in our language. He translated Bible into an early form of modern English in 1526. Again, an important question. He was the first person to make use of the Gutenberg movable type of press. Tyndale translations were banned by the authorities, and Tyndale himself was burned in 1536 at the instigation of the agents of Henry VIII and the Anglican Church. Not a very good time for poets who tried to stray out of the conventional lines, it seems. Now we come to Sir Thomas Wyatt. His timeline is from 1503 to 1542. He was a 16th century poet and English ambassador in the reign of Henry VIII. He was born in Kent, and his father, Henry Wyatt, was a counsellor in the court of Henry VIII. He introduced the Petrarchan sonnet in English. None of Wyatt's poems were published during his lifetime, unfortunately. The first book, Total's Miscellany, very important, was published in 1557, that is 15 years after his death. In 1535, Wyatt was knighted and appointed High Sheriff of Kent, and in 1541 was elected Knight of the Shire. In 1520, he married Elizabeth Brooke. So, Total's Miscellany was named after its printer, Richard Total, who included 97 poems attributed to Wyatt among total 227 poems. Total's, I think it's called Total's Miscellany is also called Songs and Sonnets. He experimented with stanza forms like ronde, whatever is the correct pronunciation, rondo, epigrams, terza rima, ottava rima, satires, monorhyme, quatrains, and iambic tetrameter. C.S. Lewis called him the father of the drab age. In 1536, Wyatt was imprisoned in the Tower of London for allegedly committing adultery with Anne Boleyn, the wife of Henry VIII. He started the Wyatt Rebellion against the marriage of Mary I and Philip II. He died of illness in 1542. The structure of the Wyatt sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet is octave and sestet, and a caesura is in between. So ABBA plus CDC, CDE or CDC, CDC. They Flee From Me is a poem written by Thomas Wyatt, referring to Wyatt's affair with a high-born woman of the court of Henry VIII, which is Anne Boleyn. Opening line of the poem is, "They flee from me, that sometime did me seek with naked foot, stalking in my chamber." So yeah. Now we come to chapter 17, which is the Earl of Surrey. His timeline was from 1517 to 1547. So the real name of Surrey is Henry Howard. It's again very important. He was the disciple of Thomas Wyatt. He was a brave soldier who served in Henry VIII's French War as Lieutenant General of the King on sea and land. He became the Earl of Surrey in 1524 when his grandfather died and his father became the Duke of Norfolk. In 1536, Surrey also served with his father in the Pilgrimage of Grace rebellion, protesting against the dissolution of the monasteries by King Henry VIII. Surrey was the first English poet to publish in blank verse, unrhymed iambic pentameter, that is, his translation of the second and fourth book of Virgil's Aeneid. Together with Wyatt, he translated Petrarchan sonnets, and hence he is known as the father of English sonnets. Very important. Wyatt introduced sonnet into English, but it was Surrey who gave them the rhyming meter and the division into quatrains that now characterize the sonnet as Shakespearean sonnet or English sonnet or Elizabethan sonnet. Henry VIII was suffering from psychotic disorder, paranoia, and he realized that Surrey was planning to usurp the crown from his son Edward VI. I mean, he did not. Maybe he realized it, maybe he was paranoid. It's hard to say. So he imprisoned Surrey and his father and sentenced them to death. Surrey was beheaded on 13th January, again a poet laid down. 1547, but his father survived. He was married to Frances de Vere. Surrey was portrayed by an actor, David O'Hara, in The Tudors, a television series that ran from 2007 to 2010. Yes, you can watch that if you wish to know a lot more about the Tudor period and the timeline. Surrey's sonnets were addressed to Geraldine. I think there is a little bit of a typo. Never mind, it's Geraldine, so I don't think there is an A after it. Anyways, so we already did this slide. Pardon me for repeating it. The structure of English sonnet, which was founded by Surrey, has 3 quatrains and a couplet having the rhyme scheme ABAB, CD, EF, GG. It is also called the Shakespearean sonnet. Very important. So now we come to chapter 18, which is Thomas Norton and Thomas Sackville. And I think I will take a break now and stop the lecture here. I hope you gained something from this lecture. I hope you liked my video. Please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, comment down below, and I will meet you all in the next video. Thank you.